It's another week and another load of confusion surrounding Lucas Paqueta and this whole betting allegation stuff in regards to his future as well. So many question marks regarding the player and his West Ham future. It's hard actually to keep up with it, but there has been some developments which are quite interesting, but it's hard to even tell from them exactly where this is all going to go and what the future holds for him. I mean, especially for the short term. And when I refer to that, I mean his time at West Ham. Before I get into the video, though, I just want to remind you that we're giving away a West Ham top. We're giving it away this Friday. We're going to announce the winner. So all you need to do is be a subscriber. So if you're not a subscriber, please click subscribe, which is obviously free to do so, and that like button. Also, the video yesterday. So if you go to that video, it's only a short one, couple of minutes, and just basically just watch that, and I explain on that video what you need to do to enter. But yeah, he went a West Ham top, home, away, or third, any size you want. So do remember to do that. Lucas Paqueta, I mean, what on earth is going on with this investigation? I really am struggling to sort of keep pace with it. So if you go back to how it all began, the player was not charged, of course, but there was basically allegations came out that suggesting that he was involved in not match fixing as such, but basically there'd been bets put on for him to get a yellow card in certain games. And it's understood that the player has been helping with the investigation, has been very, very helpful as well. He's handed over all his laptops, his phones, everything else for them to. And it appears, from what you can from what we can see at the moment, they can't find anything. They cannot find anything in regards to this. Now, it's quite clear that this accusation, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of what he's been believed to have done, has hampered a move this summer, along with the summer gone, previous summer, to Manchester City. The player wanted the move. I mean, you can't blame him. You cannot blame him. We've got to remember as well with Paqueta, as much as he's such a joy to watch and a major player for West Ham, and the fans love him. I certainly do. He's not a West Ham fan. He's not from here. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to really. He doesn't have that connection with the club. He's here, and he's got an opportunity to go and play for the best team in the country. I don't think there's anyone can begrudge him wanting that, and I certainly don't. If I was in his shoes, I absolutely would want to go to Manchester City, work for Guardiola, etc. Now, I can understand it being a source of frustration for him at the time, but I think, from what I can understand from Paqueta's side, is that although he was probably frustrated with the fact that this, these accusations came up and it hampered his move, I think it was always believed that it would be resolved one way or another, even in the coming weeks or months, and then he would then get his move eventually, whether it be in the January transfer window or the summer that's now approaching. You know, a little bit away, but a few months away. But nothing's happened, has it? There's been no charges. There's just ongoing investigation. They're looking into it. The Premier League, whatever these people are looking into, and they can't find anything from what we understand it. Now, what's changed in the last few weeks is that Paqueta's side, his team, are getting frustrated. They're suing the FA. They're suing the FA for a loss of earnings, basically. And I can understand it. They're getting infuriated because they're sitting there thinking, well, nothing's bloody changed here. He can't even play for Brazil at the moment. And he can't get his move to Manchester City. He's stuck in a situation at the moment. He can't get away from it. Don't get me wrong. I think Paqueta enjoys playing for West Ham. I think he loves the club. I really do. I genuinely believe that he and his family enjoy being at West Ham. I don't think there's any issue there at all. But as I say, you can understand why he would want to move to go and play for a team like Manchester City. But the thing is now, they are now suing the FA. And this has now prompted the FA to do something. So effectively now the FA have understood to have now gone, well, we're probably going to have to charge him. Because we've got to do something. We can't just keep saying that we're looking into it. It's been months. When you're talking now, what, from August? End of August now to, where are we now? March. It's a long time to be looking into. I mean, how much more investigating they need to do, I don't know. But it appears that what we understand is that the FA were then going to effectively have to say, well, we're going to have to just charge the player, and believe that we think there are grounds here to charge him. But then the next twist has come out in that Brazil, the national team, have now decided to get Paqueta back in the squad. Because if you remember, Brazil at the time, when this investigation was first started, sort of distanced themselves from it. Well, we can't select that player. We can't be associated with Paqueta until this has all been resolved. Well, that's now changed. I think actually the change is stemming from them needing the player more so. I think they need Paqueta in their squad. Because now what's actually the line of coming out of Brazil is that, well, actually, it's been resolved. There is no investigation. They publicly said this. The FA have now been queried on this, and they've come out and said, no, it's still going on. It's all a bit of a mess, really. So you've got Paqueta's side that are threatening to sue. You've got the FA at the moment, we understand it, are either going to charge him or certainly coming out at the moment and saying we're still investigating. And then you've got Brazil saying it's all been dealt with. He's in our squad. Where this leaves West Ham, it's hard to see at the moment. Possibly not in a bad situation, really. I mean, I don't like the idea of Paqueta being distracted. I don't like the idea of him being unhappy. We don't want players at the club that don't want to be here. That's very, very important. I think that's all my. It's one of sort of like the core requirements for me for a player. They've got to want to be at the football club. They've just got to want to be here. If you've got a player who doesn't want to be there, then it's just no good. It's no good for the environment. It's no good for the player. Everything. It just isn't good. I don't get the feeling from Paqueta, though, that he's really unhappy about being at West Ham. Like I've said, I just don't get that feeling. You watch him play, he doesn't come across like a player that's annoyed. But you can understand when he's then having his meetings with his agents and etc. And he's there is an element of like, I want to get this dealt with now. I want my move. And then, of course, there is also another nugget, isn't there, into the Paqueta situation with Manchester City, is that we don't know what the future is of Manchester City. So then you could be said that his agent might be going, well, next year they could be charged. This club could be relegated. It's next year these 115 charges are going to be dealt with. I mean, it's going to grumble on. It's not that they're going to challenge everything. It's going to be difficult. I'm not suggesting it's going to be a quick something like that. But if I'm Paqueta as well, I would be thinking that. But for the short term, I actually think this isn't a bad thing for West Ham, because I don't see Manchester City or anyone else for that matter signing Lucas Paqueta while this is going on. It's just too much risk. Bearing in mind, we've got this financial fair play situation across the Premier League, whereby clubs are being absolutely hammered and they're frightened. You only got to look at January spending to see the impact it's having. So I do struggle to see a club, any club, Manchester City included, spending whatever it'd take, 85, 90 million, whatever it's going to be to sign Lucas Paqueta, without knowing for certain that he's going to be available, that he's going to be able to free to play. You just don't know, do you? So I think for the short term, at least, I mean, we know we've got Paqueta here for the rest of the season, obviously. But do we have him for the next season? I don't know. I'm not convinced that he's definitely going this summer. I've kind of thought that for quite some time, but I don't see a resolution to this investigation. I just don't see it being resolved quickly. Even with Brazil coming out publicly and saying it's been resolved, it's no longer a problem. I don't believe that is the case. It's quite clear it's not, because the FA would have confirmed it. Paqueta would have been public knowledge, but it's not. It's clearly not. And it just doesn't seem to be any resolution to this anytime soon. And then, of course, if the FA are going to charge the player, you then wonder, well, where does that leave the situation? Because if he's facing a ban, then, of course, no other clubs are going to be touching him until that's sorted out. So I actually think for the short term, it's not looking too bad for West Ham. It could well be that we got a player for next season. We could have Paqueta here for the start of next season. Inevitably, he's going to go at some point. Inevitably, he will. But let's be honest, this whole investigation has meant that we've kept Paqueta longer. He would have been gone. He would have been gone in the summer. That's why Kudus was signed. He was signed to be his replacement, I believe. That's what I understand it to be. So, yeah, very interesting. Where it's going to end up, it's hard to say at the moment. But there's a lot of lot of confusion around it. It's so many different opinions and stories, and it's hard to keep up with. It's going to be very strange, well, very interesting, shall I say, to see what the FA are going to do. Very, very interesting. And all West Ham can do really is sit back and watch. We can't do a lot about it. And the longer it goes on, really, it suits us. It really does. That's the update on Paqueta at the moment. That's where it stands. The other bit of news today is Ramsdale and Ramsdale of Arsenal being linked to the West Ham in the summer. Apparently, the club are interested in him. I can't see this one at all. I don't understand why that would be the case. Areola, for me, has been so good this season, and he just seems to be getting better as well. He's not the perfect goalkeeper, but his shot stopping's amazing. There's a few little things he needs to work on, but David Moyes talked about, didn't he? In his press conference afterwards, he said there's a few things that he still needs to work on and get and improve upon. But he's a really good goalkeeper. And he's a player that's clearly enjoying his time at West Ham. He's bided his time well. He's now number one keeper, absolutely. I cannot see how there's any truth in West Ham then wanted to go and get Ramsdale from Arsenal, because he'd be coming into the same situation. Ramsdale wouldn't come to Arsenal, come to West Ham from Arsenal in a situation which is going to be the same. He's not getting a game at Arsenal. He's struggling to get game time at Arsenal. He'd have the same at West Ham. He wouldn't walk into the West Ham squad. Well, team, shall I say. No way. It's one I just can't really believe. You know what I mean? I just can't quite get my head around that one. I don't know. It's something I can't quite believe would happen. I don't see why there'd be any appetite from all parties for this. Lucas Fabianski, for me, has still got plenty of time to play. He's number two goalkeeper now at West Ham. I think it suits him well. If we can get European football as well, I think he would be more than happy with that in playing that role. I don't think there'd be any problem. And he's a good number two. He's a really good number two. He's still capable of being West Ham's number one, let's be honest. I do not look at West Ham at the moment and see the goalkeeper situation being anything that needs improving upon. I really don't. So yeah, that is one that I've genuinely, the second I read it, I just thought, no, I cannot get behind that at all. As I say, from West Ham's point of view, from our why would we want to spend money? Bearing in mind, like I've just said about financial fair play, we've got to be really careful what we do. We're not going to be going spending money on goalkeepers when we just don't need them. It just doesn't make any sense. But Nathan Trott as well is doing well on his loan, so I don't see it. I really don't. I've seen it. It's been running in quite a few papers actually, and a few websites and stuff saying that West Ham are going to be making a move this summer. I just can't get behind that one. I don't see it. I don't see why the player would want it. I really do not see why Ramsdale would look at West Ham and think that's the club for me. He'd walk into the exact same situation. He'd be on the bench at West Ham. So yeah, I'm rubbish in that one. But the Paqueta one, yeah, absolutely something that we need to, as West Ham fans, sort of just keep an eye on. But it's also we can do, isn't it? It's kind of weird. It's kind of like in a weird way. I kind of want the confusion to carry on because it's just suiting West Ham the more and more it goes on. Will he get a new deal at West Ham, Lucas Paqueta? I wish he would. I would love to West Ham to be able to get time down to a new deal. I don't think that will happen. That's one thing I think we can. I can safely say I don't see Paqueta signing a new deal at West Ham. I really wish he would. I know he's happy. I know that he is happy at the club. I know that he's got his best friend in Emerson. Really, really close. They are very, very close, them two. So I think that helps us. Of course, we've got a summer coming up where we could potentially get a new manager. Would that sway Paqueta to stay? It depends, doesn't it? It depends who it'd be. I doubt it. I don't think we'd be able to keep Paqueta for the long term. But I'll tell you what, the way things are going, it could well be Lucas Paqueta's here for next season.